Ever find yourself waiting endlessly at a big box pharmacy, feeling like just another number? At Tablet Pharmacy, they provide the personalized service you deserve. They offer free delivery and blister packaging options to make managing your medications easier than ever. Check their competitive prices online at tabletpharmacy.ca.
Welcome, friends. I am Cindy Thompson, and this is a Resilience Project. This is a space where stories are shared and possibilities are discovered. I invite you to partner with me in cultivating resilience among humans, one conversation at a time. In this episode, we are hearing from two people who have achieved great success in their careers. Despite these achievements, however, they both were experiencing burnout and found themselves searching for something more. This is a great reminder that even though we have pursued a dream or a career, it's okay to reevaluate whether it is making you happy. Toni and Heather Emmerzael are here to unpack their experiences in their career and what motivated them to make a radical shift closer to who they are meant to be. After 20 years of being a litigation lawyer, the stress of fighting his clients' battles had caught up with Rob. At the age of 49, sitting in his car in the parking garage of his office, Rob found himself unable to even open his car door. As he sat there motionless, Rob knew that he would never make it to 70 years old if he did not take control of how he was experiencing his life. It was a tough and humbling moment, but one that changed his life forever. Recognizing the seriousness of his situation, Rob took action, regained control of his life, and is now on a journey to living his best life possible. Heather walks us through what it's been like to be a registered nurse for over 20 years, spending most of her career in critical care, providing essential care for patients in the emergency department and with intensive care units. Trauma has been a constant companion for Heather, either in supporting others through their experience of trauma or navigating and processing the weight of her own trauma, both professionally and personally. Throughout her career, she navigated long shifts, accelerated career growth, and the constant societal pressure to do and be the very best, at work, as a mother, and as a wife. She found herself in a demanding job as the manager of an intensive care unit and was struggling to balance work and life. Heather addresses what it took to step away from her high-pressure job, attend grad school to become a certified executive coach, and discover a renewed outlook on what is possible. So Heather and Rob, I am really honored to have some time today just to have a conversation about resilience with the two of you. We are going to talk about resilience coaching practice that you're building, in getting to know the two of you a little bit at Royal Roads University as we went through the coaching program together, that everybody had a story. When they came to that coaching program, it really became evident that there was often a motivation for taking the coaching program. It might have been a story of wanting to transition. It might have been a story of just ready to enhance what they are doing. And typically, once people finish that first week, and apparently this is a common experience where people want to quit what they were doing and just do coaching. What I'm really curious about today is to have each of you share a bit about your story of resilience, your story of what you've been learning about yourself, and how that ties into your desire to be a resilient coach. Heather, would you like to start?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having Rob and I. I know that we are both super thrilled to be here and really excited about sort of embarking on this new journey together with starting a coaching business, mainly focusing on resilience. My story with resilience has been lifelong. I've been a nurse for about 20 years now, a registered nurse, and I've spent the majority of my career working in critical care. So the emergency department and then the intensive care. And I've done lots of things in the meantime, but a few years ago, I found myself managing an intensive care unit. And I thought that that leadership role would allow me to help create this really beautiful unit with like all of these happy nurses. And it wasn't what I envisioned at all. It was all putting out fires, I felt a lot of moral distress in the fact that I couldn't be the leader that I wanted to be with all of the things I had to do. And then in that time frame, I found myself in a marriage that was really unhappy. I made the decision to leave my husband with my 2 girls and embark on a completely new path. It was scary, and it took a lot of courage to make a leap like that. And then somewhere along the way, I recognized that I didn't have the skill set I needed to be the leader that I wanted to be. So I found this coaching course through our leadership courses, loved it. And then the teacher or instructor told me about the course through Royal Roads University. And when I took this course, it could not have come at a better time. COVID was just hitting, and everyone was having to pivot. My workplace was absolutely changing every 5 minutes. And my dad was diagnosed with cancer. I was helping him through that. And I just realized that coaching is transformational and helped me through that really, really tough period. And all of a sudden, I felt this huge desire to be that person for other people. And if I could coach them and help them understand that resiliency is truly a practice and learn how to get through their own blocks and become resilient themselves, then they would be able to thrive, absolutely thrive, completely regardless of any external circumstance. My dad just passed away at the end of November, and I've really recognized that being resilient and having had those last 3 years of struggle has really helped set me up to deal with this really, really, really heartbreaking and terrible life situation. Those resiliency skills help you to be able to just ride the wave gracefully instead of letting that wave pummel you down to the bottom of the ocean floor and drown you. I'm really thankful for having gone through that journey and having understood what resiliency truly means. And now I feel like with Rob, I'm able to follow my calling, and that I'm just excited for all of the lives that we're going to be able to help transform.
Which is really interesting to hear as a nurse. Often people go into nursing as a way of helping others and to make a difference in this world, one person at a time, if you will. And so it's fascinating how through your nursing career, you just were not finding that same sense of awareness or satisfaction in the job that you were doing or able to do because of other restrictions, perhaps political issues that maybe came up, expectations that restricted you from doing it the way you would have wanted.
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the hardest things, and what I would like to be a remedy for the majority of people go into nursing because they truly care and they want to make a difference in so many people's lives. But you graduate university with a skill set that allows you to care for others, but no skill set that allows you to care for yourself or understand the value of pouring into your cup first so that you can better care for your patients and their families and your family, and that you can better navigate the world of imbalances in your life with shifts and working nights and missing family holidays. And what I think I was missing when I became a nurse was that understanding of resiliency. And I had no practice of self-care. I had no understanding of what resiliency was. And so I found that I burnt out in every area of nursing that I worked. And the beautiful thing about nursing is that you can change areas. I had a pattern where I would hit that burnout mark and I would go to a different unit. Oh, I'm going to go teach at MacEwan University for a few years. And then I burnt out, because what we need to do is teach people how to care for themselves first to avoid that burnout.
Yes.
Because I think that avoiding burnout is a lot easier than recovering from it.
That's a great slogan. That's a good bumper sticker right there.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Yeah.
Right? It's so true.
So, Heather, what were some resiliency pieces for you that you can maybe pull out? Self-care being one of them. Are there others that stood out for you?
Yeah, mine really started sort of with a bit of a spiritual journey. And I found the importance of connecting my body to my higher self, to God, source, whatever you want to call it, and started meditating. And for me, that was the first step to really starting to feel better. I recognized the importance of exercising regularly and moving my body, and just really not having an end game. It wasn't that I needed to lose 20 pounds or do this or that, but just to move my actual body, and also to allow my emotions to move through my body. I think for a lot of my career, because a lot of the things I saw and experienced within critical care were so traumatic, I found I sort of dissociated my emotions and I wouldn't let them freely flow.
Mm-hmm.
And I think then when you do that, they become stuck in your body and they just wreak havoc. So I've discovered that for me to be resilient, when I feel an emotion, emotions are energy in motion. And so I need to just allow it to move through me, to feel it, experience it, honor it, and then release it. And then, eating properly, you are what you ingest, whether it's your food, your reading materials, your TV, your social media. And so I guess in general, I became more mindful. Mm. And Rob's written some really good articles, and one of them was living with intention. And to me, that is really also what it comes down to, is making intentional choices. What I'm doing, my morning routines. Rob and I have chatted so many times about the value of the simple things, like as simple as having a good morning routine that will set you up for the rest of your day.
Absolutely.
For it to be successful.
Excellent. Well, and I remember one of our webinars during 2020 when it was the first wave of the pandemic, and you came on to the webinar, spoke to our class about your experience of being on the front lines.
I was working at the bedside in Emerge, and I managed an ICU.
I remember just the passion in your voice of what you wanted people to hear about the seriousness of it, what you were seeing firsthand, the intensity of that. And then to later learn that you were also single parenting, you were going through this coaching program, you were working, and then your dad developed cancer, I later learned. So 2020 really was quite a year for you. And I can hear the transformation that's happening through that learning, and that you're moving more towards what is life-giving for you.
Absolutely. It's so easy for us to get wrapped up in focusing on the hard parts of it. And it's fun sometimes to complain to your friends and be like, can you even believe this happened? But what I've come to realize is that my energy is so precious and it's so limited, and it really does matter what I spend it on. So remembering that with all of that hard, it's so true that life happens for you, not to you. And if you can remember that and apply that one principle, I think, to all of your challenges, we may not understand while we're going through it and journeying through the hard, but there truly is a grace that comes with it and a transformation. And it's how we choose to do that. And if we are resilient, we will choose to allow it to transform us for the better.
Yeah. So having those tools that allow you to trust that you have what you need to navigate no matter what comes along, mm-hmm. and those resources necessary to support you on that journey, and to not fight it, to not just look at it as this is happening to me, but what can I be learning from this? And sometimes we can't see it in the middle of it. It's sometimes after. And I wonder if that's happened for you as your dad just recently passed away. Like you said, you've looked back on the last few years and how they've prepared you for that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. It reminds me of a visual of, like, the fish that has to swim upstream against that current. In that movie Finding Nemo, right, where the turtles are all in that stream, in that current, and they're just chilling.
Yeah.
And they're so different. Those two approaches are so different. And it's to be able to learn how to be resilient and take all the knocks and not let it, just to still be okay.
Yeah. Well, and I also hear a message in there, I think, around also resting in the quiet times, because we don't know what's around the corner. We don't know what's coming next. And even though we maybe have had a whole bunch of things happening to us in a short period of time, there's going to be seasons where we can rest in it and be like those turtles swimming along, but we don't really know where we're going to have to swim upstream and swim harder than other times.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you, Heather. And shine the light on Rob for a few minutes. And Rob, as a litigation lawyer, I get the impression from our earlier conversations that you've been on a journey yourself. And can you share with us what led you to take the coaching program and a little bit about what you've been learning about yourself in the last few years?
Yeah. So, I want to pick up on something that Heather said earlier about resilience being a practice. I had absolutely no idea. I go into one of the most stressful professions out there, and I'm not equipped with anything except for the suck it up buttercup that we were probably all taught when we were kids. You become more resilient by just sucking it up and going through this tough time, and you come out stronger on the other side. But that didn't work for me. And I hit my aha moment for me at the age of 49, drove into work. I'm sitting in my car in the parking garage at my office, and I suddenly couldn't open the car door. And I sat there for 10 to 15 minutes, not basically being able to move. And the thought that kept running through my head is, I'm not going to make it to 70 if I don't do something to adjust the way that I'm currently living. And I was lucky enough at the time, and still lucky now, my wife, I can talk to her about mental health issues, which is awesome. So I went to her and I said, I got to do something different. And I wasn't much into the self-help books at the time, and I thought they were all mumbo jumbo, but no point doing the same things over and over again that are not working. So she gave me a book by Louise Hay called You Can Heal Your Life. And I started reading it every day in my morning routine. Instead of reading the newspaper, I stopped and started reading this book. And what it taught me was to love myself. Because at that point in time, I knew I didn't love myself. I never felt good enough as a lawyer, never felt good enough as a husband, as a parent, as a friend. There was that constant negative self-talk, that imposter syndrome. And what Louise Hay's book did for me was really set that foundation to know that I had my own unique, beautiful contribution to make to this world, and to start being my own champion than being my own critic. And that was the impetus of my journey of change, and what led me to coaching and going to our Royal Roads University. Like in litigation, our job is to knock the other side down, basically, for lack of a better word. Yeah, to a degree, of course, we're helping our clients to get what they want, but we weren't in that process lifting other people up. And that was the internal fight in me. And so coaching gives you that opportunity to lift others up, to realize their full potential. And that just spoke to me. Yeah, Royal Roads, and I met you two guys, and yeah, it was life-changing.
So for those of us that don't understand what it's like to be a lawyer, because some of us might think, wow, are you kidding? You work so hard to get there. Similar to Heather going into nursing, we only know what we know. You mentioned one piece there. I wonder if there's other pieces that makes being a lawyer one of the most stressful jobs. Can you paint that picture?
Yeah, well, it's designed for negativity, right? Because you got to find the flaws in everything. And then when you find the flaws in something, at least from the litigation side, or even for advancing an argument on a commercial transaction or trying to negotiate a deal, you're trying to minimize or find the flaw and tell them, hey, this is the problem for you. And so, you need to come to my position or my opinion. Then you've got tight deadlines for stuff, liability. A simple mistake could be very costly, but that's not in every profession. And there's a lot of stress to that. And that's the mentality of the profession as well. Like, you're expected to be connected 24/7. It's just the advent of the cell phone was terrible for that, right? Because it enabled you to be connected 24/7. And the billable hour, we're perfectionists, and it's got to be perfect. So all those stresses go into play, and they just caught up, right? They just caught up.
Yeah. Well, as you did the coaching program, as you have discovered there's a whole other way that you can be lifting others up, what have you learned about yourself?
One of my biggest learnings in a resilience coaching course that I recently took was the living with intention that Heather just mentioned. And it sort of put everything together for me. That was like maybe my second real aha, or maybe my third real aha moment in the last couple of years. And I just wasn't living with any kind of intention, and not any intention that valued me, that valued what I truly wanted out of it. I felt like if I look back at it now, I was like a ping pong ball being batted around by all these other people, going in the directions that they wanted me to go, or I thought I should go. Society thinks you should do. And so I realized it's just so important to live with intention, but with the intention that aligns with your values. And what I notice is when I'm not living within those values, the less resilient I am. It's not fun to be cutting up on somebody if your true value is to want to lift them up. And when you have that fight, it is hard to be resilient. It was breaking me down over the years without me even knowing it at all. So that whole living with intention and designing your life, but also living with intention on a daily basis of being kind, being grateful, and of just bringing love to the world, to me is what I realized what I was passionate about and what I want to do going forward.
Mm-hmm. Very well said. And I do hear that a lot in my work over the last 30 years. Often people are most stressed in their jobs when it is in conflict with their values, whether it's their leadership or their boss, their people they're working with, or what they have to do for their job. If it's not in alignment with who they are or who they want to be, then often that is a great source of stress. So I'm really glad you mentioned that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so as the two of you embark on this coaching to build resilience, what if somebody's out there and struggling in their career? Like I listened to the two of you talk about feeling unhappy with where you were at, what you were doing, being unable to get out of your car, Rob, and you hit that wall. And some people are hitting smaller walls along the way. Some are wait until they hit the big wall to realize. What would be some things that you would say you'd want people to pay attention to earlier on and not wait till they're hitting that wall?
Boy, that's an awesome question. And it's about mindfulness that Heather was talking about, being mindful of what your body is telling you. For me, it was like feeling that tension rise up in my shoulders. And that's where it hit for me, and just rising up. And then stepping back and thinking, okay, why is that feeling there? Not judging it, saying I'm such a loser for having that feeling, but just accepting it and feeling it. And then thinking about, okay, why is that there? Is it something that I'm doing that's not aligning with my values? And then being honest with yourself about it. Forgetting what society thinks you should be doing. You have to live in accordance with what you value. So I think that's the key thing, is just be mindful of what you're feeling, and then take some time to think about it, and then be intentional about taking action then to move towards where you want to be or what your values are.
Yeah, nice. And that can take time, but to notice those early indications and to notice that maybe I'm not on the path that I should be on. And there's practicalities. We got to pay the bills and support our families, but maybe it's a niggle. Maybe it's a feeling that there's something else, and to maybe be open to that as well. Yeah. Heather, how about for you? Because you spoke about burnout. what would be some signs that you saw in yourself or that you would maybe speak to that others might be experiencing?
Oh, yeah. Burnout is so real and it's so challenging. And I see it in so many nurses that I know. And you can see it in different ways where they're quick to become irritable or just so tired and exhausted. And then that in turn is a conflict because really, as a nurse, your drive is to take care of others really, really well. And when you're in that burnout space, you're just not actually able to. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people don't recognize it in themselves until you are hitting that big wall. For me, if I had understood the whole resiliency practice and had that as my baseline, I don't believe that I would have ever hit that burnout stage in any of the roles that I've carried throughout nursing. And I think to be really connected and listen to your body and listen to those niggles, we think that it's easier to ignore them and to just stay the path. You know, I've paid for my degree for the last 4 years. I've put all this time in. And so a lot of the times I think we think it's easier, but it's actually not easier. It's incredibly hard to live at odds with your values or to be showing up every day to a job where you're feeling burnt out and where you're feeling that you're not giving your best to your patients or your families or your friends or anyone. And so, yeah, I think this is where coaching is a really beautiful thing. And so coaching just for me was so transformational in allowing me to really uncover for myself what my true values were, what my true vision was, what my true mission was. I've had a really beautifully accomplished career within nursing. I've done almost anything you can do. But wouldn't it have felt different if I had done it intentionally and not had to go down that path of burnout before I made a shift and a change? And wouldn't I have felt like a better parent and partner and friend, and every aspect of your life is better? And so I think for me, coaching is actually a really big piece of the puzzle too, where it just helps me to have that space where I can speak freely and I'm heard so in depth by another human. And even just to have my words said back to me sometimes is enough for me to say like, okay, wow, this is what I actually want. Now that I know that, what action can I take to go and get it? Yeah, I think just the whole resiliency practice prevents burnout in itself. And then just living with intention and being really connected to self is incredibly important.
Well said. And I think part of it too, just springboarding from that, Heather and Rob, is taking the time to really step away from the busyness, because sometimes we think we just have to do more. Maybe if I work harder at it, or maybe I'm being lazy if I take a day off just to think about what I want this to look like. And so carving out space to meet with somebody as a thinking partner is like having a bit of space for yourself, and to be able to breathe, to be able to reflect what is going through your mind and have it fed back to you. But we often feel like we just have to work harder at something. And yet it's like the people that say, I'm too busy to make a list to get organized. Right. And yet if we take, say, 1 day or 2 days, book a week off just to think about where you want to go. Where do you want to be? Where have you felt your best? And often people do not know or remember where they felt their best because they've just been working so hard at whatever they've been doing. And I often say we know what we know. It isn't until we step away, or you'll hear people say, I took a weekend away or I went on holidays and I've never felt better. So what was different there? What were you doing there? Was it because you got to meditate or go for walks on the beach or hike? What was it about that? And so having somebody that's truly there for you to walk through that with you, but you almost have to give yourself permission to say, I'm important enough to invest in this for myself.
Absolutely. And everything is based on self-love. And I think that concept alone is hard for so many people, and we don't even realize it.
Yeah.
We're just going along. When we were in school, we were all able and lucky to be able to work with some not-for-profit organizations and provide their leadership teams with coaching.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when we were first trying to find our organizations, and it was right when COVID was hitting, and all of them that we spoke to were like, no, we are overwhelmed. We're stressed. We're just trying to keep our organization afloat. We don't know what we're doing with all of these changes. People are working from home. In the business world, there was so much going on. And what I found fascinating and really so exciting was how at the end of the coaching, every single one of them said, you know what? Coaching couldn't have come at a better time for me. Allowing myself that space to take time for myself to like help work through all the problems was invaluable. And it actually made our organization thrive throughout this unprecedented time. And I feel like that's the same thing with resiliency. If you can do that, and if you give yourself that gift, then you actually will thrive. You'll thrive regardless of any circumstance.
Yeah. It's so important, actually, because we talk about self-care. So coaching gives you that time where you force yourself to do self-care. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the beauties of coaching, because we all know how busy life can get, and we forget, or we don't think we need to take that time to step back and see where we're at. And it's just like all the resiliency practices too. We think we're too busy to do it all, but you'll find you'll be more productive at work. You'll be more productive at home. You'll be happier, healthier all around if you start to take care of yourself. And I can think of all the times where I was sitting at my desk at work, just so stressed, where I could barely work. When I was into doing more resilient practices, I would walk to another associate's office and get him to tell me a joke, because he was such a good spinner of a yarn. And I would laugh and laugh and laugh, and then go back to my desk, stress gone, bang, 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 get the stuff out, no problem. I probably would have sat there till 9, 10 at night doing the work and just having all that stress weigh me down. And so when I think about it, I'm thinking right now, the picture that comes to my head is, you're sitting on a plane and getting the spiel about all the safety things that you can do. And they tell you to put on your oxygen mask first before you help somebody else. You have to be able to breathe yourself before you can help somebody. If you can't breathe, you can't help somebody else. So that self-care, while it may seem selfish, it's really not, because it allows you to be your best for other people, which is really what we all want to be at the end of the day.
Yeah. A question that's coming to mind, I'd like to ask each of you this. As you've made this change, I'm wondering who around you has noticed a difference in you as a person.
I think for me, probably my two girls, first and foremost. I find the way that I parent them even has shifted and changed, and we are having a lot more fun. In COVID, it's a bit challenging, but I would say my friends too, they've noticed a huge transformation. I'm lucky to have a really good network of friends, and they've all been super supportive through all of my challenges. And I would say that they would all say I'm a completely different person now than I was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, for sure. It's very noticeable. It's very noticeable.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. How about you, Rob?
So my wife, for sure. Yeah, even for me, like, I know the difference, and I know how much less time it takes me to get through difficult times that I'm having than it did before, where I'd be fretting about something for days. That time is reduced. So I noticed that big time. My sons probably wouldn't admit that they notice a change because, they're kids, they're 19 and 22. So They probably wouldn't admit it. But I'm hoping that I led by example. My son probably wouldn't say this or that it did, but he just recently changed his university studies. He didn't like it. So I'm hoping that my example of what I did helped him have the courage to make that decision, right? That's a huge decision to make. And to have that courage at just 19 years old to do that, I'd hope that a little bit of my example played into that.
Yeah. Our kids always watch and learn, even if they don't talk about it at 19 and 20. So anything else you would like people to know that they could see this in a light of investing in themselves? They're not really paying you. They're really paying themselves to hire a coach, to get in touch with where they want to go, to think ahead, not just in this moment, to be able to plan for themselves. What do you think that you might bring to the table that could help them understand your passion for this and your area that you want to focus on?
I believe, like truly with all of my heart, that coaching is completely transformational. And so I kind of think like if you're breathing, you should be getting coaching, because what I love about it is that it takes you from where you're sitting exactly in this moment and propels you forward. So it's not about looking back, and it's not about judging where you're at. It's simply about taking you from where you're at right now and saying, where do I want to go and how do I want to get there? The beautiful thing about coaching is that you, as the coachee, are the person in the driver's seat, and you only go as deep as you want to go and as far as you want to go. We were talking about this a lot in school, and I know this from a personal thing, is that humans are wired to not enjoy change. It actually causes a physiological pain response. And coaching takes those places where we're stuck or we're having to change and it's painful for us. And you all of a sudden have this aha moment, and you've taken this painful thing and your body shifts at a physiological cellular level as well. And you have this release of endorphins, and you have this really pleasurable sensation in your body and in your brain. And then because you have the action plan that you create yourself, you have an 80% chance of going out and achieving what you want to do. And so I just think what a gift that is for yourself, to take that time and spend it on creating an intentional life, creating a resilient life. And those two things combined, they're so transformative. And if I look at myself, when people are always asked that question, like, if you could give your younger self some advice, I would say find a coach and create an intentional life. And man, you're right. My 2020 was so hard. And 2020 has been so hard for so many people on so many levels. COVID has created a stress upon everyone's regular stress. And we're having to continually pivot and change. And, oh, here's another knock. Oh, my business isn't opening now, or this or that. Like, people who are having to live within their four walls for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is a lot for us, especially when we're wired for connection. But if you have that resiliency, it's like, it doesn't even matter. Like, nothing actually knocks you down. It's my goal to help as many people as humanly possible to live that life.
What I pull from it anyway is that you're trusting in that person to know what they need. You are not coming in as the expert on them. They are the expert on themselves, but you're just helping to shine a light on areas where they might be feeling stuck. And I can hear your passion for the journey you've been on and what you've learned about yourself. And you're not just talking the talk, you've been walking the walk. And in your experience of adversity in recent years, you can see what you've learned. You can hear the excitement that you want to share with others about what you've learned.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
And you're a believer.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I got coaching myself to help get me where I've gone to today. And I can really speak to its benefit of unblocking you and helping you with that change that Heather talks about that we resisted. And when I reflect back on my own coaching journey, I could see that resistance throughout that process, but then it started to unfold. And it started to wane after each time, I'd get coaching and I would take the next step, and it just started to change so that I could then go what I call live my best life possible. That's what I want to be able to help people do themselves, because as you said, they know within themselves what they need. I want to help them bring that out and then go live the best life that they want to live, because it's out there for you. And I can't express enough for the change for me and the joy that it's giving me and the life that I know that's possible for me to obtain, and the things that have now fallen in place for me because of that. I'm blessed. It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and I think identifying that we can't escape this life without adversity. And if we use that to inform us, and that's what I hear from the two of you, is that this journey that you've been on, these experiences that you've had, sometimes you've hit like Rob, maybe a different kind of wall than Heather did. Heather hit a number of different walls, looking that maybe if I just turn this way, this will be the answer. I can hear what that has brought for each of you, and what you bring to your experience of being a coach isn't just verbiage. It is a lived experience. And I can hear just your passion comes through in this conversation for sure. Is there anything you'd want to add as we get ready to close today? I just want to see if there's anything we missed that you hope to say in this conversation.
Oh boy, give a lawyer another opportunity to speak. That's dangerous. Judges will tell you that I never know when to sit down. But other than say, just take the time. It's so important to take care of yourself. And once you do that, you can do anything.
Beautiful. And Heather, anything from you in closing?
I'm just really thankful to have been on this platform. And I just appreciate having the opportunity to have our message heard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. My pleasure for sure. And just your excitement and your passion is contagious. And I look at what you're doing as one tool in a toolkit of resiliency, and love your message. So thank you for being here today. And I wish you all the best as you embark on this practice together.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. I am sure you could hear the enthusiasm and energy that Rob and Heather have in discovering their new paths. I wonder how many of you recognized yourselves in this episode. For some of you, the indicators have been there for a while and for various reasons have not felt ready to make that radical change. As in Rob's case, it hit him with like a ton of bricks. What stands out for me in this conversation is the importance of finding value and meaning in whatever you might be pursuing. Instead of focusing on challenging a case or fighting for his client in a courtroom, Rob is now helping others find their personal power and live their fullest lives. Heather's desire to work with clients to grow their resiliency practice sheds light on the importance of early intervention and prevention as a nurse and as a coach. If there is something that stands out for you in this episode, it may be a sign that you're getting ready for a change. If you have noticed similar symptoms of burnout or have relentlessly been changing jobs, hoping that the next one will make you happy, I invite you to carve out some time to take a deeper dive into what this might mean for you. If you were to describe your ideal job or career, what would be important to you? What are the key components that you consider to be crucial, and what are the less important criteria? Allow yourself to brainstorm all possibilities within this job description, as well as what purpose and meaning it might have for you. What big dreams have you had that you have not yet realized? On the other hand, perhaps you want to stay in your job, but need the tools to grow your resilience in your current circumstances. There's no one right answer. Only you can answer this question and with time be able to identify what it is that you've been missing. Sometimes we just need the skills to manage more effectively right where we are. The beautiful part is that you do not have to navigate this journey alone. As you heard from Rob and Heather, there are some very passionate people out there who are excited to be your partner in discovering your personal power. And as Marge Bussey spoke about a few episodes ago on this podcast, a coaching partner is another tool in your toolbox. As we wrap up this episode, I have one question. What belief or narrative would need to shift for you to take that next step to a healthier you? Thank you for listening to this episode of A Resilience Project. We would not be doing this podcast without you. If you or someone you know has an inspirational story or is helping to build resilience in their community, please email me at cindy@aresilienceproject.com. In fact, email me either way. I would love to hear from you. Also, check out my website, aresilienceproject.com, to meet the amazing people who have joined me on these podcasts. Last but not least, a big thank you to Doris Media House for their editing support. As you go about your week, I invite you to think about one way you can continue to grow your resilience muscle. What is one thing you can start doing today? See you next week.
Ever find yourself waiting endlessly at a big box pharmacy, feeling like just another number? At Tablet Pharmacy, they provide the personalized service you deserve. They offer free delivery and blister packaging options to make managing your medications easier than ever. Check their competitive prices online at TabletPharmacy.ca